Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Alan and this is a different video. You already see I have some guests on the screen, but this is something that's been in the works for a couple of months now, something I'm excited to share because as we're all leveling up together, one of the things that I want to do is expand my own horizons and give you opportunities to see how other people have entered into the reselling journey or into the hobby, their story of enjoying the cards that we all collect and the story of how they're selling and reselling products. And so without further ado, I just want to jump right into it and introduce you to Dave and Kay, the proprietors of the DK TCG Cave, and they have many different angles where they're approaching the hobby and different ways that they got into the hobby originally. And so I want to just give them a chance. If you walked up to their table at a show or you jumped onto their Whatnot stream, I said, hey, introduce yourself to the people as if no one has ever heard your name before, and hopefully you have, but if not, introduce yourself, guys.
All right. Well, I'm Dave, and this is
Kay,
and we are DK TCG Cave. We have been in this hobby collecting cards together for 10, going on 11 years now.
Nice.
For the past 5 years, we have been an LLC, and we've been in business selling trading cards online,
yes,
in person, at card shows, and we dabble in a little bit of everything.
for sure.
And we're here for the long run. You know what I mean? So that if anybody could know that about us, is we're passionate about the hobby. We love what we do. And yeah, that's it.
Couldn't say
if there's
better.
anything else you want to add into that.
We love the community.
Yeah, facts.
Well, and that's the one thing that I really enjoyed. Your journey kind of into this as a business started around the same time as mine, beginning of this year, right? Beginning of 2025. Is that right? Do I have that right?
Our Whatnot
yes,
business.
our Whatnot.
Whatnot. Okay. So that's where I kind of got turned on to you guys. Well, I want to tell you both. The reason I'm glad that you're both here is I know Dave, you served in the military, and I know a lot of the people that you network with, a lot of the people that you're promoting and hyping up are other people that either served with you or that you found in the hobby. And so thank you for your service, and so glad to hear about that. So add that into the conversations as much as you feel is necessary. And then Kay, I just love that you're here because I feel like we obviously all sell cards to female collectors, but I don't see many women on that side of the camera. And so I'm glad to have your perspective here as well, because I do think that there certainly are some females in the space that are creating content. But at the same time, like to see you partnered with your husband in the business and doing all of those things is just fantastic. And so thank you both for being here. And so we've got, how many questions did I send you guys? 23 questions. We may get to all of them. We'll see. But yeah, tell me like, as you've been collecting cards, how you both got into the hobby, and did one of you influence the other, or how did that look?
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, we both started back literally 2014 or 2015.
Yes, we were living in Fort Drum at the time.
Yeah, I just got back from Afghanistan, so I got off of deployment and just kind of adjusting back to regular life. Mm-hmm. And I had a buddy, and he was new to the platoon, and he kind of introduced me because I collected cards as a kid. Mm-hmm. Always.
You had tons of Michael Jordans.
And even like sports cards, mm-hmm. but Pokemon cards, loved as a kid. So when he was telling me that he plays the game with his kids, it really sparked our interest. Mm. And this was in 2015. Well, it sparked my interest. So I was telling her about it, kind of, hey, like, my buddy Taverner, his kids, his wife, they all play. So they kind of taught us the game. And we would just go over their house and have in-held game tournaments at their house, like, rotate, and we would bring packs to the lot, and just whoever got first place got 5 packs, or
that's cool.
Just held regular tournaments. I knew nothing about collecting. We were just about making decks.
It was just pure fun.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Yeah, just fun and competition.
Yeah, and I made her cry one time. Okay, all right. Like,
it was a very intense game. It was very intense. And
yes,
I was so close to winning, and then I don't remember exactly what card you pulled out, but you pulled it out, and it just completely ruined my whole plan.
Yeah.
Almost into the whole relationship, the whole business, but I never got off the ground. Yeah.
Of course. No, but that's really what got us into it, was just the game itself. Zero collecting. And I remember pulling from Breakpoint the special Red Gyarados with Greninja Surfing. It's like a $3,000, $2,000 card now, and like a 10 or something. I remember I pulled it and I was like, man, I can't play this card. And I just threw it in my binder. Had no idea. You know what I mean? And then so years later, years went by. We still had the stuff that we played with and opened throughout the years. COVID hit, and that's kind of where I had to do a little bit of like nudging because things got expensive, you know, during that time. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. Was just a game,
just playing. Yeah.
So then the pivot into the business side, it was out of a financial necessity at first.
So during COVID, I was always, as a collector, I think we all agree that people don't collect pocket lint, right? We want to collect things that are valuable.
Yeah.
So throughout all these times of me, of our binder collection that we had throughout playing, we ended up grading over 200 cards with PSA right before COVID kind of like spiked. So I was part of that whole group that had to wait a whole year for their submission to come back.
Yeah.
So in the meantime, you know, I was still in the hobby, listening to influencers, you know, battle styles. Everything was really hype. And finally, my PSA submission came back, which I know this is going to be a big question later on.
Yeah, go ahead, get into it a little bit. Yeah.
This is what started everything. We graded over 200 cards, a lot of my vintage stuff that I've collected, stuff that I've played with, the Dialga, the all silver card, that got a 9. Anyway, I was in school. I was going to school for marine biology because I got out of the Army and I was like, you know what? I want to swim with sharks and be crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she,
Florida.
we moved to Florida. It's for like a renowned school. She was working at Target. And finally, our submission came back. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to keep a few cards that I really like, and everything else I'm just going to put on eBay. And lo and behold, we made more money just in that short period of maybe selling for 3 months on eBay than we did our whole year of working and going to school, doing all of that. So the light bulb clicked, and we were like, look, if we really just hunker down and believe in this and just, you know, take the right risks, take the right steps, and just do this. Let's see what happens. And we just started selling because why not? You know what I mean? You have one life. So that's kind of just what sparked everything was my PSA submission.
Definitely. Yeah. And then we got really heavy into doing like estate sales and garage sales and just kind of like selling anything that was like really awesome and collectible. I've been selling clothes for like a decade. You know, I started on Poshmark and then I got into like vintage and antique clothing. So it was just like, it turned into like a whole like smorgasbord of like everything.
Yeah. You know, when Gary Vee says you could turn $1 to 10 the easiest during garage sales. Yeah. For about 6 to 8 months. I that's no lie.
Our whole house, it looked like a warehouse. Like that is how much stuff we were like just bringing in and like selling and all that.
But trading cards.
Yes, I'm sorry.
We always had trading cards part of the whole plan because you could store thousands within a small box. Yes. You have thousands of listings. Storing inventory with trading cards, I think, is probably one of the most easiest ways of running an online business from home. Because imagine selling shoes, clothes, anything else. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I could have a stack of 100 cards right here, and it just take up that much space. That's all.
Yeah, and that's part of my journey too. Is the failed sneaker flipping business back in January of 2024. I thought I could use my son's passion and knowledge of sneakers to do that, and ended up buying getting a fake sale, for $300, and took out my initial investment, and then in January of 2025, I had some old like Nintendo and Sega Genesis games I started selling on eBay, and then I'm like, well, hey, there's all these Pokemon cards for sale on Facebook Marketplace, and then I kind of just like stumbled into it in a different scale and differently than you guys did. But I think that's something that a lot of people's stories. I mean, yes, people can start with intentionality and a business plan and all those kinds of things, but then there's also this kind of like entrepreneurial bug that kind of bites us. But I also like that I didn't realize, so I grew up on the Gulf Coast of Texas, and so marine biology I'm very familiar. Lots of marine biologists where I grew up, and then the Target headquarters is right here in the Twin Cities. So look how connected we are, guys.
Wow.
So as you kind of got started into that, how much time and effort were you like allocating for the business, even as you were trying to maybe continue school, at least in the short term, continue to work at Target, and then some of those challenges that as you kind of, because obviously passion begins to overwhelm us and we find ourselves at 3 a.m. probably at our computers listing cards, but then you still got to go to work the next day or school. And so what was that time like, and like how much time were you allocating, and then how did you maybe wean off of that real world job and education thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question because I think the transition is the hardest part for anyone to try to grasp.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
like how I this is just my personal belief is that it doesn't matter how much money somebody can make. You could be making six figures and be in debt. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
100%.
It all starts with what commitments do you have as an individual? Do you owe 20% on an interest rate? Do you are you paying insurance on a car, 3 phones? You know, financial irresponsibility is just what ruins most people in this hobby.
Yep.
So my biggest thing was, and just my learning, my biggest learning experience was because thank you, you said we need a separate account. We need a separate account. Don't mix and mingle. Whatever you make off the business, let that funnel itself. It has to, or else we're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to start buying inventory. Buying's easy, right?
Yep.
We all know that.
Yep.
And then looking at it and then looking at prices online, it makes you feel like you have that type of stock, but it's not like a day trade where you could just go and sell your stock instantly. You got to put in the work. So I don't know exactly where I was going with this, but financial responsibility is where I think. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say preach that, because like the thing is like, I just saw a video this week. I don't know if it hit your Instagram feed or not, but one of the big players in the hobby that has a brick and mortar store, he was out away from home and was at a vending show. His wife also, similar to what Kay was saying, she's selling things that she's making and buying and reselling on the side. She got a scam call from Venmo that they needed to refund her some stuff. And so it looked like it was a gain call. Tricked her over the course of many hours. She had 3 young children at home, sleep deprived. The whole scenario was just ripe for someone taking advantage. And because their business account was tied into their main account, the bank will not cover the fraud because of the way they were nested together. They didn't separate their money, and because they kind of backdoored through the main account and they were able to get access to that money, the bank's like, well, no, you made the mistake. And in this context, and I want our viewers to know this, like with the AI, the number of calls I get every day from a pre-approved loan that I never applied for because they want me to click the number 1 and give them my social and everything else because it's a too good to be true offer. All of that is just phishing and scamming and trying to get access. And so please, listeners, viewers of this, like separate your finances. And be rigid about it. Be stupidly rigid about it, because then if someone does scam you out of your business, you at least are not putting your mortgage and your car payments and your utilities and your family's groceries at risk to where you have to go to a food shelf or something because you made a mistake. So sorry, that was kind of a little bit of a fired up tangent, but that's, I remember you doing a video about that. I think you were out hiking on one of your Instagram reels and you were just like, hey people, I think it was about LLC and separating your business. And so super important stuff. So let's go back a little bit. So the time that you were allocating, like what did that transition look like? And what was the pivot point where you both were just like in unison that like one of us can go full time in this and then the other, or what did that look like?
Well, my whole spiel about that was because everybody's situation is so different. Because we got ahead of our finances before. We had a big chunk saved up. You know, we lived paycheck to paycheck at one point, and it was like one of the worst feelings of my life. I'm going to tell this because I'll let people know right now. I went to a grocery store one time and got groceries. Both of us, the commissary on post. This is when I was in the military, and my credit card was maxed out, and I was like, oh, you know, I forgot my wallet in the car. I gotta go get my other card, and I just left. I couldn't afford it. I had no money. Ever since then,
I do remember that because it was around
I'll
Thanksgiving.
never forget it. I'll never forget that. It was around Thanksgiving, And just thinking about it makes me like, ooh, you know.
Mm-hmm. I mean, we were so young. And
but
just,
everybody
like,
needs that. Exactly.
Yeah, 100%.
So
it kind of like that changes your mindset. You know, you have to go through
I guess my biggest point about this is everyone's on different parts of their journey, and you won't be able to make that transition unless you get like serious about financially getting out of owing somebody else money.
100%.
Because you can't make margins when you owe somebody 20% or more, and then you have all these other. So get out of your commitments. Number one. For us, it was a different story because we just financially were responsible. We had a lot saved up, and then with PSA just kind of like it was the fuel to the fire, and the flame just could not stop burning because we put ourselves in a good position. We ate, excuse my language, I know you have, but we ate shit for years and we planned for escape. I think everyone wants that fast gratification of like, hey, I see everyone doing it, so let me compare my chapter 1 to somebody else's chapter 26, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of people get discouraged. It's just before you transition, if I can give any advice, is you have to get ahead of your own financial commitments.
Yep.
Once you're past that, I'm telling you, life is a lot easier.
You get that like financial.
So time we put in 9 to 5, not at like when it hit 9 o'clock, we did not stop working. Maybe we took a break or let the dogs out, but till 5 o'clock. But we were locked in, laser focused.
Honestly, 7 days a week.
7 days a week. You know, with customer service, it's never a 9 to 5. But we try to not burn out, and we do. We burn out all the time.
Oh, for sure.
You know, But I think that I don't know if that answers your question, but we ended up transitioning because we put ourselves in that situation.
It was easier to transition into doing this full time because we were, debt free, and we did set ourselves up for financial stability and all that.
Yeah.
Well,
if that answers.
No. I think the two themes that I'm really hearing though is fiscal responsibility. Like if you owe somebody money, you're in debt to them. You're kind of a slave to that debt. You are until that debt is paid off. And so I've seen some content creators that talk about, I have a 0% finance credit card, so I'm going to go buy all of this inventory on a credit card and thinking that they can flip it quickly because of the market. But if that market takes a dip or a downturn or things slow down, even if you're the lowest listed price on eBay and TCG Player, your ability to then make that money back and then pay off that debt, that is a risk. That is like lighting a fuse in those old like cartoons, where you just say, and boom, and it goes off. And so mitigating your risk, paying down your debt, being as debt free as you can. Certainly paying off your mortgage is a goal when you start a business like this. So not a lot of people can maybe do that, or your car payment, but how can you make your financial footprint and liabilities every month so small that the risk is not as great? And then the other piece is just still continuing to practice that and separating your finances so that you can just really make sure that you're not putting something like your roof over your head in jeopardy. And so, no, that's huge. And I think also, even though we're passionate about it, and one of my favorite things to do is just put on lo-fi music and sit here at my desk and pack cards and draw little sketches and thank you notes. That may not be something that certainly that I can make a living on. Certainly I can buy some electronics and some lights and things like that. But in the short term, you have to do the hard work. You have to burn the midnight oil and do the things. And so, man, that's exciting to hear. And I think the other thing too is a lot of people talk about, selling online. And of course, we're going to get into your website as well. But owning a brick and mortar store even adds another layer of complexity because then you owe a lease. Having been in finance briefly years ago, the place that my organization leased was kind of a communal shopping center, and it had common area maintenance every year. So at the end of the year, it's like, we replaced the parking lot and repainted the parking lot. And so your portion of that as a leasee of this, shopping complex is this amount of dollars. And those kind of things pop up. Your AC goes out, your door's busted and you got to fix it. And selling online mitigates some of that. And so giving away 13% or 10% or whatever that looks like is a lot less than the stress of paying employees and also
yes.
paying a lease. So as far as like products and sourcing, so you talked a little bit about the grading play, but as you talk about, I know you sell some sealed product, Japanese product on your website. So this is where it kind of gets into more of the specifics about what ways are you investing and or reselling in the hobby, whether that's sealed product or the other. So yeah, jump into that. And obviously Whatnot is one of the things I really want to highlight, because I think a lot of people see the end product of that, but they don't know the back end work that goes into that, of producing a stream. And you guys do an amazing job of, as people become regulars in your stream, welcoming them in, holding back cards for them, not necessarily to give them, but to give them a chance to bid on those. And so you've created an amazing community. So kind of, yeah, get into all of that.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So, so I guess the first question we'll tackle the website, right?
Yeah.
The website. So we'll talk about sourcing in the website.
Yes.
So we did initially start with Japanese product with our Japanese supplier. And we decided to build a website because we said, hey, we're putting in the hours, we're putting our face to social media. And as long as we keep pushing out content, we keep working hard, letting people know we exist, our website should be good, right? However, you know, I don't do politics, I don't talk politics, but sometimes it's especially, it's good to know stuff, especially when it affects your business directly. So tariffs was a huge like red flag. It was an indicator. It said, hey, there's an opportunity here. And if you know, here's a warning signal. We knew tariffs was coming. And I know this is one of your questions too, but one of our biggest risks was investing a lot of money in Japanese products. And that could be very scary, especially when you're ordering and, you know, somebody halfway across the world, you're like, man, if I give them my money, like I might not ever see it again. There is a risk. So the initial plan was to get as much of this Japanese product as possible before tariffs go up. Because at the time, you can get Japanese boxes for $35 a box with shipping included. Majority of my boxes that I've ever purchased were around that price. I don't like going in that. We're in different times. So before the tariffs kicked in, we tried to get as much as we could within our capital, and we did, and then the tariffs kicked in. So there's that 15% that already is taken away from anyone else trying to do it now, which makes it way more difficult. But because of the tariffs, it kind of stopped our plan of, you know, building a website and stocking it with Japanese product. Because eventually we're like, hey, the market's going to go down. Hopefully we can get a distributor, and maybe one day we could offer it on our website as well, right? But that's just not what ended up happening because tariffs, and we don't see a distributor in sight because we're not going to have overhead. And, you know, sealed product is just something we don't have the tool for, and it's just something we just hold long term as an enjoyment. So we just stick with majority singles and slabs now. So our website, even though we took that step and we built a website from scratch, I didn't know how to do any of that.
We saw tunnel vision with the website. We saw tunnel vision.
And then so we backed away from that because our inventory, our opportunity of being able to have, we didn't want to force that, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, it doesn't make sense. Let's move to a platform where there's eyes like crazy, eBay, even with a 13%.
And we've had like a love-hate relationship with eBay, which is initially why we started selling on Whatnot. We thought it was going to be like a better route.
So for the first few years, it was like eBay. And then around the same time you were working on your website is when Whatnot, you kind of did those around the same time?
Correct.
Yeah. So tell me about that. Tell me about that decision.
For Whatnot.
Yeah.
So for Whatnot, I've always been in certain streams where we have in first. Okay, let me backpedal. Okay, at a card show, and I think it was 2 years ago. It was at a card show, and my buddy, he's my buddy now, but at the time, this guy came in with a giant wagon, huge wagon, just with binders, tons of stuff. And he said, hey, are you buying Pokemon? And I was in the far, far back of the show. I don't even know how he made it to me before everyone else.
Right.
We made a deal. And at the time, it was the biggest deal of my thing, $4,000. I was like, oh my God, I had to call her. I was like, $4,000. I was like, I'm telling you, we can't let this slip. You know, it was just an enormous amount of inventory. We started selling and grading the stuff that, you know, was the high end stuff. And we started selling the singles. Then we said, hey, we actually have enough inventory to start a Whatnot journey. If you want to, you know, like you see how some of these streamers
and you've shopped on Whatnot
for years. For years.
So you were very familiar with like the live selling and live buying.
From the customer angle.
Yes. And just as a business entrepreneur, as somebody that listens to other people that are very successful in this space, I also understand that live selling is something that I believe is going to grow exponentially in the future.
Yeah, you and I are both fans of Gary Vee. Like he's hyping that up hardcore. Like that's the future. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's people's attention. I mean, I think we could just take a look at the average person and how much time we spend on our phone, our attention span, how quick we need things to move. 7-day auctions for some people. We need instant gratification in this world, right? That's the average consumer. Yep. So as somebody that also understands how much money flow is important to your business, Whatnot just seemed like a no-brainer.
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to take losses. We're going to eat some stuff, but make better on a few other cards and everything balances out.
Yep.
So that's kind of what we did. We had a collection that we paid $4,000 for, and it was just perfect Whatnot inventory. Yeah. And I mean, illustration rares, VMAXs, old stuff, new stuff. It was just a Whatnot's dream.
Yeah.
So it was just, we talked about it and said,
we were preparing.
We were like, we're preparing for this journey. And that's when we met Legendary. Before we started our journey, we did 14 days of advertising. We said, hey, 14 days until we start our Whatnot journey.
Yeah, counting down.
This is what we did on this day. Or like, hey, today, you know, this was we looked at OBS, how to figure out OBS. I didn't even know what OBS was, let alone how to put in graphics and, you know, follow us and maybe a hotkey where it's like, oh, first purchase. I'm like, oh, this is cool, right? So yeah, we were just ready to take that step, and we did it. We did it. We just said, hey, we have enough inventory, and I think that that's important for Whatnot. I can tell you right now, our biggest mistakes, and if anyone right now is listening to me, okay, here, let me give you some stats, so I can at least tell you my experience.
Yeah, because I have a buddy of mine that recently started, and I reached out to you to said, hey, what cautionary tales would you tell my friend that's interested in maybe selling Star Wars Topps cards on Whatnot? And you kind of had this list of like, you know, and the amount of time it took you to build up your audience. Like that, people just think if they just say dollar starts, you know, Pokemon cards, that 50 people are going to show up, and that's just not the case.
No, not at all. And that's not reality for most people starting.
Yeah. So if you do your first stream with the wrong inventory, you could just and the wrong buyers, you could kill your whole business in one stream.
Yes, if you go in there expecting to be on a certain level, you know, I think people have an unrealistic expectation when they attack anything, mostly because, you know,
it's the chapters you talked about, comparing chapters.
Yes.
Yeah, people see where you're at and Whatnot, and I think, well, if I start Whatnot, you know, because I vicariously watched you, that I'm going to have the same success that you're having in your 28th stream versus my first stream, and it's just it's not a reality.
Yes. So for anyone watching this and is interested in Whatnot, we have a 5-star rating. In the past 8 months, we have made over like around 90,000 in sales. We sold 10.3 thousand items, and our ship time is less than 1 day with a 5-star review, right? So that's just to show people
credibility.
We need to put a little stamp on that.
I can't believe that we've over 10,000
insane cards. Insane. We've surpassed our goal without selling a single English booster box this year. So anyone that is like, you know, hell-bent about sealed only, like you could do this flipping. Flipping is the most crucial skill anyone can learn, just in general. Yeah. Okay. That's pretty much.
No, well, but I'll say that the thing that, so let me ask this question. So for someone that might be wanting to kind of squeeze the sponge and get the last few drops out of the whatnot topic. So when you're curating a stream, how many cards are you curating? And on average, if you're like, 100 cards equals this amount of time of selling or whatever that looks like. And then what price points? Because I do know that you are selling slabs and some higher dollar cards, but you're not selling $500 cards. You're not selling gem mint 10s that are worth 12 grand. Those are more eBay. Those are more, personal sales at shows at VFW halls or wherever you're vending. So yeah, tell me a little bit about that as you're curating a stream. Like when you say these are perfect for whatnot, what are those things? If someone was wanting to start today, what would you tell them?
Okay, perfect. I'll get to that, but I just want to say one more thing about about just the inventory portion. We didn't understand the algorithm. It takes someone. One of the most important things with whatnot is having a consistent schedule and a time. So, because we started out and we hit the ground running, we did Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, every single 4 days a week. And we were selling through inventory faster than we could even imagine. So for the first few weeks, we were working 4 days a week, and just packing the orders was a day's work in itself. So we would work, pack. So and it was like that.
We spaced it out that way, so that way we would be able to have the next day to like pack and get orders out and all that.
Yeah. So our biggest mistake was not understanding the algorithm and rushing it. We had great inventory, but because we were like, okay, let's work these amount of weeks, we didn't let the algorithm build itself up. What we should have done is, hey, every Friday or Saturday, not even 4 days a week, or every Saturday, right? We're just going to do one stream for a few hours until whatnot recognizes that, hey, we have a consistent worker here, right? So if you have great inventory, do not run it on your first stream. Okay. Yeah, we have to build you up. Okay. So when it comes down to the type of inventory I run, it is mostly things that are in higher demand, very modern, right? You as a whatnot streamer or seller, and I want to touch this topic too, have the ability to be an entrepreneur in any way you want. You could do breaks. At one point we were doing something called roll for rares. We were ripping
I remember
pack.
that. Yeah.
We had just different.
And that's where a lot of the Japanese booster boxes came into play as well during that time.
Yeah. So there's different business models for whatnot. It's not just dollar starts too, for anyone that's listening. But we focused heavily on what's in demand. Was modern singles, Charizards, the more well-known Pokemon. And then when someone comes to our stream and was like, hey, do you have a Breloom? I'm like, you know what? No one ever asked us that, but I got one. I'll promise you I'll find one for you. And then, I found one at a show. And then maybe a week or two, they actually came back to the stream and they were like, do you have a Breloom for me? I was like, I've been waiting for you to come back into our stream, and here it is. And D-Nice, always comes back and just hangs out and chats. So we got to grow our community just off of, being considerate or thinking of someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Just thinking about others and just wanting them to, hey, like, come back to us. Like, we got you, we got you. Yeah, we got you.
Yeah. So we stuck with.
But can I also say?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I do just want to say, like, about whatnot, like, it's important to obviously pace yourself. And then also, someone's inventory might, okay, hold on. Let me gather my thoughts.
You're doing great. Okay. You're doing great.
Our inventory might not work in somebody else's stream, and like vice versa. So, what you see being sold on our eBay, some people have success selling that on their whatnot, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
but just for us, like things that we put on eBay, it doesn't necessarily work that well in our whatnot shows.
So for me personally, I was focused on modern because it was easier to get. People are always selling their collections. The stuff between $5 to $15 was mostly my money spot right there. if I buy a card that's worth around $5 to $7 and, you know, I get 4 for it, cool. But maybe I'll run a $4 card and get $8 for it.
Yep. I've
You
seen
know?
it happen. Yeah. On your stream. Yeah.
Yeah. And then people, because you have the ability to be transparent on eBay, I mean, on Whatnot, and you could show off the condition. Some people will pay a premium, be like, I want that card because I know exactly what I'm getting.
Yep.
It's almost like they inspected it in real time, right? So there is great things about Whatnot that you could provide to even up your sales. Be fully transparent. If it has a nick, if it has a bend, if it has a scratch,
100%,
just show it and call it out. Because the last thing you want is somebody giving you a negative review and you can just go back to the video receipt like, dude, like, don't, you know, it's right there, plain as day.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I appreciate about that, you guys, because, and honestly, that ability that you have, number one, the fact that there's 2 of you. So, you know, Kay is in the videos, but she's in the back. She's running the giveaways, because you do get giveaways every 5 or 10 minutes. And I love it because you even personalize those, because when I've won a couple of those, you sent me Star Wars cards because you know I love Star Wars. And so like I love that personalization there. But then the other thing is, because you're a team, I can't imagine doing what you guys do without you as a pair. Because my friend that was trying to get into it, he was just doing it by himself. And I'm like, man, if this takes off, the ability to keep track of the numbers. Yes, you have the video receipts, you can go back to it, but that's time consuming. But the fact that you and Kay are working in tandem with one another, and you're keeping track of who's won what, and even beginning probably part of the packing process to some degree in real time, so that the next day or that night when your stream is over, you can do that. And so, yeah, Whatnot is very overwhelming, but it's very enticing. The number of young people, particularly my son's age, like in their, you know, he's 19, he'll be 20 in a few days, but you know, they're all about the Whatnot and flipping the money and making the money and those kinds of things. But I think the longevity in the hobby is not about being a hype beast about all the things, or, you know, creating fake like
running
demand.
up the cards.
And stuff like that. Yeah. And
this is so rare. This is hot. Yeah. And I love Whatnot because you build your stream, okay? Like, yes, you are a seller and you're trying to make money. And there's tons of people out there that are like as exciting to watch as paint dry, and they make way more than I do.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Because a lot of people are also there for 3-second auctions.
Just strictly,
you know, permanent marker on
Mm-hmm.
penny sleeve, auction 7, 8, 9,
Mm-hmm.
next.
That always makes me so nervous, Sharpie on a penny sleeve.
Yeah,
I've never had it bleed through, but I'm just always afraid that if I do that, I'm just like, okay. Anyway.
Yeah, we don't do that. But you know, but that's just how it is, and that's part of the algorithm is customer retention, sell-through rate, how long people can stay, the amount of people you have stay in your stream, and that's why giveaways are such a crucial part, because it helps build that algorithm. The more, as soon as somebody hits your stream for 5 minutes or more, it kind of boosts up your show and it kind of keeps pushing it up. So running giveaways, even though it hurts some people's pockets for sure, but that's why it's a numbers game. If you're going to be doing running giveaways, again, we do 5-second auctions, you know, and but I think one of the most difficult parts also is just finding inventory. And I think that's for everyone.
Yep.
Because we sell through it so fast.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing for me as I started my journey, is that like I didn't have any inventory and no knowledge. And so I started in at a deficit right off the bat. But if I can do it, I mean, at literally I'll be 50 in a couple months, you know, like I know anybody can do it, especially if you have the knowledge, the passion, the experience, and if you already have a box of cards sitting in the closet. I mean, I think anybody can start that. So, all right, I'm going to kind of combine like 15 questions here, not because I'm in a hurry, but we've covered a lot of these topics. So let's say that you're buying a collection and a card passes in front of the 2 of you, or one of you, as you're sitting down making a decision. What is the determining factor? So, so your website's kind of on the back burner at the moment, right? I mean, it's still there. I mean, you do have some inventory on there, but you're not currently backfilling that inventory because of the tariffs and stuff. Is that?
Yeah, pretty much our website is just up because it's up. We took everything off now, and We just strictly stick to Whatnot and eBay.
Okay.
Yes.
So that's the question I have. So like a card's in front of you, a slab's in front of you. What are some of the metrics you're looking at, determining factors that you're just running through a checklist in your head? This is going to the eBay pile. This is going to the Whatnot stream. Like what are making those? I mean, obviously the higher value is part of the eBay discussion, but are there other things you're thinking through?
Yes. For anyone on thinking about doing Whatnot, let me tell you some of the things that don't do well, at least for our stream, was gold cards.
I was just thinking that in my
gold
head.
energies, gold hyper rares, terrible. They do. I remember selling the dark gold energy around $35 to $40 a card.
Yeah.
They both went for under $5. So I had $80 value, in 2 cards, but because people are not aware of what the value is in certain cards, you can't run them on Whatnot.
I just sold a pair of those on TCG Player. I think the current market's like around 25 right now for them, but like back then they were, but yeah, I mean that, that would be awful. That'd be a huge hit if you're just starting your business.
And that happened to us. That happened to us. I remember a stream. It was the most frustrated I've been because everything went for like 50% comps. My whole back wall almost. And for the first time, I let the frustrations get through on that show because I was like, dang, y'all, like, all right, I can't run no more. You know what I mean? Like, I just got to run it short. Like, I never cut shorts, but you have to read the room sometimes. You know what I mean?
Right buyers, if the right buyers aren't on the stream, then
Yeah.
I'm going to show you a perfect example.
Yeah. And I will say this, as you're getting that, like I was able to snipe a card off of your stream, the Galarian's, no, it wasn't Zapdos, Moltres, Galarian. Yeah. And I think the value of it was around $15, and I was able to snag it for like $8 or something. And so Whatnot is a place where the buyer can find deals, but from the seller's seat, you can't do that on every card, because then I also saw cards that were worth $2 or $3. But because you had the right buyers in the room, like if I say Psyduck to you, who are the sellers that immediately come to your head? Who are your people?
We got Rex, we got Psy. We got,
and they're in the stream. When I'm in the stream, they're in there, and you get the right buyers for the right card in there. And again, you're not taking advantage of them. You're serving them as a service to say, hey man, I thought about you. I didn't know there were going to be 8 Psyduck fans in here. And then a card that may be worth $3 or $4 goes for 18. And so it is this kind of law of averages that you can't sell every card at 50% comps. But sometimes a card that's worth a couple of dollars will go for $6. And sometimes a card like the Galarian Moltres or whatever, that's worth 15 will go for $8. And then I still pay shipping. And so you do make a little bit of, back in there and all those. But yeah, that's the game. That's the game no matter where you're selling, but on Whatnot especially. Yeah. All right, go ahead. Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are 2 perfect examples. Okay, the way I pick what inventory goes where is based on me knowing my crowd. Once you build your crowd, you could be very specific. You could just say, "Hey, I'm a vintage guy. or a vintage person. I don't care anything about modern. I'm going to." You have to find people that just like vintage, because guess what? They're out there searching for vintage. And if you want to be a vintage dealer, you don't have to touch modern at all. But this is a perfect example. This card right here. This card's called Imakuni's Doduo. In a PSA 10, this card's worth around $350 ish, right? But even if I ran this card raw on my Whatnot, it would probably go for $1 because most people don't know what that card is.
Yeah, I wouldn't know. Yeah.
So,
most people in our stream are for modern.
Most people. So that's my big point is anytime we buy a collection, we divvy it out based on what crowd do we have. We specifically targeted towards Whatnot. And that is more of a modern crowd that enjoys, because it's easier to get that type of inventory. Right. And when someone's looking for vintage, they go to our eBay and they're looking to complete sets. So we'll sell like base cards for like $2 to $3 a card, and people will bundle 4 or 5 cards or a bunch of vintage hollows, or all our vintage stuff mostly goes on there. And then Whatnot,
Sometimes you'll sprinkle it in.
I'll sprinkle it in depending on the price. And like I said, remember that gold, that energy.
Yeah.
I'm not running anything gold no more on our streams. I'm just going to put it on eBay and there it sells on there.
Yes. And I mean, the longer that you are streaming and selling on Whatnot, you will know your crowd.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And this is so different for every individual because everyone's inventory is so different.
Yeah. Like there's streams that we go into and they sell pretty much nothing but vintage. And we're like, oh, darn. Like, you know, it would be cool to be able to run that on our Whatnot. But
we
you know,
we don't have the clientele for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then let's sprinkle in a little bit. I know you guys don't vend a lot, but you are kind of vending in the area. How has that played a role in your journey as well?
Huge.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Some of the best buying opportunities I've ever had, or just in general, came from shows. Some of my best games
on both sides of the table.
Mostly vending.
Okay.
Mostly. When you're a vendor, you know you have a lot of people coming to your table, and if you're looking to buy cards, people are looking to sell, and there's always deals to be made. And when you're dealing with as a vendor, when you have collectors come across your table and they have a binder full of cards, 9 times out of 10, those cards are straight out of a pack, pulled fresh in a binder. They weren't rummaged through or like, hey, this is off-centered, you know, so let me try to sell it to a vendor or a dealer.
Right.
But, you know, when you have collectors come across your table and you make deals and trades and you're more inclined to work with people, because some people are like, no, I'm not trading, or like, no, I'm just selling only, or, you know, they don't want to come to some type of deal. There's always some type of better opportunity if you look for it. Yeah. So when people come across the table, especially collectors, I would love to take a look at anything from your binder. Let me know, and I'll take some of the best condition cards that I know could gem in order to grow my business or grow my collection and sell it. Sometimes it might not even be, hey, that card's high in demand and I want it. It's like, ooh, that card looks very, let me inspect this card really quick. This looks like a very gradable card. They want this one. Let me take in a few gradable cards and incorporate that into my business, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cards, definitely.
So Kay, are you jumping in on those? I mean, you're going to the card shows as well, and like how has your experience been there?
Whenever the opportunity, you know, arises. So, you know, we have 4 dogs. So, you know, Dave typically, like, you know, he goes to like a lot of card shows in Alabama. So,
nice, yeah.
You know, he'll go behind, and then I just sold at one in September.
Yeah, we did our first show in years together because we finally.
Oh, and you had some of your, or I would say your community that showed up and made a drive to come see you guys. Yeah.
Some fam there. Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, if the opportunity is there and it just makes sense for us to both be selling at the show, I'll be more than happy to go. I like more like paying attention. Well, what is it like more of the online selling. Yeah. So I do like more of like.
I'm a social butterfly when it comes to card shows. I like cards.
And I'm an introvert, so like it's. And I work on Saturdays and Sundays, so I typically don't have the ability to go to them. But I've never been on the vendor side of the table. I don't think I have talking about the right inventory. I don't know that I have the right inventory or even business model presently to actually be able to fill a table. But I want to lean into 2 things that we've brushed over. Well, one we have brushed over, and the other I want to lean into. As far as making grading plays, like as far as I know, grading is a big part. Obviously, that was part of the genesis of your sending all those cards during the pandemic off to get them graded. So tell me about like what makes a good grading play and how you're choosing to take a risk on a card or not, because that is an investment. Even if you're sending in multiple cards and you're probably a PSA like member or whatever that is, so you have a little bit of a discount. And so you're paying the shipping cost there, the shipping cost back. You're paying a percentage on anything that grades over a certain dollar amount, and then you're paying around, was it $19 or $20 even as a member to do the grading. And so, what makes a good card? And then I see the scanner back behind you. We have to talk about eBay and some of the AI automation, TCG Automate that you guys are using. And I just saw what's the guy's name that started that?
Oh, Angel.
Yeah, I just saw he posted just in the last couple of days that he quit his full-time job to fully focus on TCG Automate. So I want to talk about that and how that's helping you scale your eBay business. But let's talk about PSA and grading first. Are you using any other grading companies, or it's just PSA?
now,
Just
PSA now.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
I'm with you. That's the return on investment. That's it. Yep.
Yeah, you've graded with pretty much all the companies.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like if there's a grading card company out there, I pretty much graded with them. Even like HGA. Most of y'all don't even hear about HGA, but that used to be like kind of like Tag. It was AI grading. You can customize your label. People were all about it. I've graded with pretty much everybody. I only stick with PSA now. And even though trust me, there is pros and cons to everything. There really is. But PSA has a premium for it. You know,
Yep.
they're proven with back data. You know, at one point, there was a time where I'm like, man, PSA can't get away with this. What do you mean they're going to charge me more for grading my card? And they're just money hungry. I understand all parts of it. Okay, I've been there. The journey's crazy. But what makes a good play, right? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I think that's super important, especially when it comes down to risk management.
Mm-hmm.
I think risk management, I can't begin to tell you how important it is. Because if you grade a card that's hot right now, by the time you get it back from PSA, that card might be hot doo-doo. It might not be hot anymore.
Yeah.
And we've had that experience tons of times.
Yes. Yeah.
So when it comes down to buying the hype, if you see a video about somebody saying, hey, this card has gone up this much %, it's not the time to buy and to grade it. It's just not there are exceptions. Okay. Like there are Bubble Mew and other things, right?
Well, there's certainly outliers, but then there's also, in a small cautionary tale, like I got into Bitcoin during the pandemic, not Bitcoin, but like crypto during the pandemic. And Shiba Inu was one that like all of a sudden went from like 0.0001 pennies per stock. So I own like 1.3 million shares of this crypto, and I bought it when it like went up, and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm an idiot. Like I mean, it was like $90, so it wasn't like, my mortgage or anything like that, but I still own 1.3 million shares of the stock, but it's worth like $30 now. So, but if it ever goes up to a penny a stock, then we're going to buy a brick and mortar and we're going to figure it out. But yeah. What makes a great play? Yeah.
Okay. And I think this could be very subjective, right? Based on your business model, based on what cards you look out for. But in general, we try to keep a very strict standard with our quality control. And we call her quality control K for a reason. Okay.
Love it.
There's tons of times where I'll look at a card and I'll miss something and she'll be like, there's no way we can send this in. Like, did you check that? And I'm like, oh, but technically I like going for things that are past the hype area. Okay. Like, for example, like, the Scarlet and Violet, the megas now, Mega Evolution, right? When we take a step back into Plasma or just older sets, things that have a steady market, I like to take risks of grading cards of things that are already stable.
Right.
And if I can get it for a discount and then grade it, it's a no-brainer play for us. Even if it's not a 10. We don't shoot for 10s all the time. We're like, hey, we got this collection in. This card near mint is worth, let's say, $40 or $30. But a PSA 8 or 9 shoots $80 or $90. We will take that, especially because we're confident. We have two eyes. We're very strict. We understand what centering means, surface, edges,
corners. Yeah.
We don't have a blind eye to certain things. We're very strict to that. So we just look at what the card is worth in the simplest terms. What is this card worth right now if I sold it? And then you get that number. Okay, based on my pre-grading predictions, which not everyone gets right? But I think it's
for sure.
But it's very important to learn that skill because it's helped us a lot. Because of my pre-grading conditions, I believe this card would get a 8 at worst. You always have to plan for the worst,
right?
And be like, I think it could get a 9. But if I get an 8, I'm still going to make profit. And I'm not submitting a card that is on the roller coaster. It's not on a Velociraptor. You know what I mean? It's not going up and down. It's just chilling. It's just chilling. If that makes sense. I have a lot of analogies.
Velociraptor.
Yeah. So that's what kind of determines what I will grade is is this card right now? Also, not everything is gradable. Just because it's a hit, just because it's an IR, you know, is this Pokemon or is this character or whatever I'm grading, right? Whether it's Marvel cards, baseball players, whatever.
Yeah.
Is this a very high demand character? People love Steph Curry. If you grade a Steph Curry card, right, or a LeBron James card that is like has some color to it, it is more likely to sell than a very less known character.
Right.
Same concept for trading cards. Okay, Greninja, Charizard, Pikachu, rare hits, all of that stuff's important to factor in and consider when you're grading, if that makes sense. If you want to put in anything for the grading topic, because
I agree. I agree. You know, like when you're considering grading a card, you know, make sure you you know, see what it's going for in a 9, a 10, like you said, an 8, which would probably be more of like a vintage card.
Yeah, vintage,
you know, so just do your research first before determining what you want to grade, and keep your standards high. As far as like what is it, like the condition?
Yeah, and I think that to the rule of thumb is that I've learned, and I know it there are the outliers, is like a 9 is typically the same price as raw or similar to a price as raw, unless again those outliers are like if you have like a base set Japanese first release, you know, 1998, is that when they were released in Japan? Is that right? 30 years.
96 was the first.
Oh, that's right, because next year is 30 years, 2026. Yeah, a 5 in that card could potentially add immense value versus a 5 in a modern card. And then the hype, like you're talking about, of these brand new sets, like even just as a reseller of raw, I don't want to touch the new sets because the hype is just insane. And if you send off, like, you know, you get the big hit from the Mega Evolution set, you send it off to PSA, by the time you get it back 4 or 5 months from now, or whatever the turnaround time is, even if you expedite it, I think it's still running 2 to 3 months, even with the expedited service sometimes. Yeah, the value that it has, the hype is going to have died down. And but if you pulled that card naturally out of a retail price pack, there's still an upside to it. So yeah, it's such a moving target. Yeah.
Sometimes it's better if a set just comes out and you hit a lottery ticket and you got that chase card. It is 99% of the time the peak of it is going to be upon release. You sell it raw and you can get the same price that somebody also hit it, send it out to get grading. 3 or 4 months later, it comes back. PSA 10 is the raw price that it was when it first, you know what I mean? So, so even though grading does increase in value, timing matters with modern market, right? If you want to go for that roller coaster ride for modern, I learned my lesson back in 2020, 2021. I was buying battle styles, alt arts for like what the PSA raw cards for what PSA prices are today.
Wow.
You know what I mean? So when it comes down to demand, people don't understand how scary a market shift can be, especially when people start understanding what pop counts mean with grading. So if you're new to grading, you scan this little thing right here in the back and it'll tell you how many exists. And that's so important. And people kind of downplay it, which is wild to me. But speaking of grading, this is a first edition Ho-Oh, which is, to me, I'm Ho-Oh over Lugia. That's just me, right? First edition. I bought this card in a near mint copy. It was go around $200. Had a little bit of whitening and stuff. I knew it wouldn't gem. It got an 8, and now it's 500.
Wow.
So if you understand what kind of cards to look for, especially older, and you find good condition cards, it is such a less risk for you to get more familiar with older stuff because the market is stable. The market, and honestly, it's been going up for the past year. Vintage has just been slowly just doing this, you know? So I will advocate for vintage all day, even though it's very difficult for new people to understand because there's a hype market, right? We just got in here. What do you mean? What's Surging Sparks? You know, there's some people in here that like Surging Sparks is old. I have no idea. Like, I missed that set. So yeah, time moves different in Pokemon than it does like sports cards and other stuff that we have experience with.
Yeah, sports cards. If a player has a great game today, you can sell that card for more tomorrow. But then that player gets traded to another team. They're in a different jersey, and so that's a whole like a Pikachu is a Pikachu is a Pikachu versus like, yeah. So I'm with you. It's a whole different conversation. So here's what I want to pivot because I do want to land the plane to respect your time. So TCG Automate.
Yes.
It is the future of your business, if that's safe to say, as far as being able to scale and quickly list many, many listings. So let's give, again, this isn't like necessarily a sales pitch for it, but this is one of the ways that I'm excited about AI, excited about scanning technologies and what that looks like, and how that's allowing you to put fuel on the fire. And then I want to find out all the ways people can connect with you guys. But yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
TCG Automate and using a scanner is such a game changer that we are restructuring our model again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Constantly. Because you evolve with the market, right? We all know right now, I believe, which a lot of other people do too, but we are going through sorry. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Sorry. I just had a phone call and it pops up on my thing.
Oh, no worries. No worries.
We're going through like a repricing stage, right? Everything's kind of going on a dip a little bit here, but when it comes down to what made us go to Whatnot in the first place is how long it took us to put up inventory. We would work for hours and hours, like 9 to 5, to 5, and we would maybe put up maybe like 30 each good quality listings. And that's what was a big pivoting factor to go to Whatnot is like, we don't have to sit here and list. We don't have to sit here and take photos and do the descriptions. Time management, right? You put it, you show it, right? But with TCG Automate and the proper scanner, because that's what matters. We've been able to list hundreds of cards within an hour, like not even. And just the ability to manage that time and be able to work on a platform where you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, we made 17 sales, while we were sleeping, So this machine and the AI technology of being able to make your listings for you is such a danger that we are taking a very small step back from Whatnot. Because it's that time of the year for us, right? We're going to be here forever when it comes down to the TCG market and just in this game. But this time of the year, we got family coming over soon, and we got the holidays around. We're going to be spending a lot of time.
We're able to
plus
take a
people
step
are buying, buying on eBay too for the holidays.
So while we're with family, or if we're, we need weeks and months of, like, just say weeks of vacation or time away, we can set up with TCG Automate like daily listings of 30 to 50 every single day and just build that algorithm up to the point where the sales just work for themselves. You know what I mean? So because we have time that we need to spend not in this office, and not working and not being able, because if you're doing Whatnot, you also have to understand that if you have a show scheduled, you have to clock into work and you have to work for that time. And then, so when it comes down to eBay, that's not the case.
And also, I do want to say with eBay versus Whatnot, eBay, we're able to not go through our inventory so fast, whereas like with Whatnot, like we're constantly like got to be on the hunt to find a good collection. And if we can't find that, it's like, oh, shoot, we don't have anything to run. So that was kind of something that we have been running into.
Well, but I think, it's the pacing thing, right? It's so like if somebody's listening to this right now and they're thinking, oh, if I just get the scanner and TCG Automate, that's going to fix everything. But if you live in an area that's a desert of inventory where you can't get the inventory, then having the technology, and so there's so many variables at play. How much money do you have to invest? Can you get the scanner? Do you have the, and then the algorithm that you build up over time, where eBay is a little bit more of an algorithm market, where TCG Player is more of like an auction house, And so if you're the lowest price, you're going to sell the card the quickest. Certainly that's a factor on eBay, but then there's also, are your listings being fed to the buyer on the other end? And so again, that's what I love about this conversation. And so I just want to, if you're listening to this and you're a part of my community, or even of DKTCG Caves community, the cautionary tale is just buying the technology and having a good inventory of cards right now doesn't necessarily set you up for the longevity, because you've got to create systems and consistency in the way that you source cards and the way that you list cards and the teamwork that you guys have together. Part of your success is you're able to double your efforts because two of you are maybe doing similar things, or outsourcing one thing because of your skill set, that Kay may be super great at this thing and Dave's super great at this thing. And so you're combining your resources. And again, I'm not saying any of that to discourage any of the viewers of this. But success just doesn't come. I mean, even if you were a kid that got a $1 million inheritance, there's no guarantee that you'd be successful with that $1 million if you don't have the right systems and consistency, customers, and systems in place to create a sustainable business. Because honestly, another piece of the cautionary tale, there was a guy back when I lived in Texas, and his uncle passed away and left him like $100,000. And he thought, I've always had a dream to open up a comic book trading card store. And he did. And it lasted for 8 months. Because by the time he got all the inventory and paid the lease, he didn't have the right systems, the customer base. He just thought, if I build this thing, people are going to come in, they're going to buy my products. And he didn't have the right back end. He didn't have the right, if somebody came in and said, hey, do you have this comic book? He'd say, no, let me get it. And he was going to Amazon to buy it, not to, because he hadn't established relationships with a distributor yet. And so it's like all of those things that my business degree in my mind is like, all the things you're saying, requires time, patience, diligence, consistency, and discipline to keep your finances separate, and to say, if we don't have the money to buy this set of cards that just walked up to me at a vending table, I have to pass, because we have to, practice patience and discernment. So, but yeah, so TCG Automate just as a whole is an opportunity. So if you have the right inventory and you have an eBay shop and you have the right community and customers and you're hitting the algorithm just right, is a tool to help you pour fuel on the fire, but it's not the solution. It's just a tool in your toolbox that you can pull out when you need it so that it can add to your success. But if you don't have the right processes behind the scenes, you could still fail, even with the right tools in your toolbox.
Yep.
Because I could have the same tools that the best car repair shop in this town has, but if I take those tools out into my garage, I don't know what a carburetor and a fuel pump is.
Yeah.
So it doesn't help me at all. I have the best tool, but I don't know what to do with the tools. And so, all right. Anything else you want to say on that? Squeeze the sponge on that. But I'm excited. What I will ask you to do, and this is kind of like unprofessional, but hey, after we're done here, shoot me an email with a link to all of your socials and your website and the things you want me to promote. And everybody, if you're watching this, I'm going to put all that down in the description down below, so you can easily find Dave and Kay and kind of keep up with their journey and what they're up to. But let's squeeze the sponge. What are some of the last things that you're hoping for the future, and maybe even just any last parting, just, hey, here's the last few things I'd say.
Okay. You want to go? You want to say anything? Okay. I want to sit here and think about, because this is like,
yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
We could start some marriage counseling. Okay, what's the hardest part about working with Dave? Just kidding. Don't answer that.
No,
well,
this is
I know,
a yin and yang.
Yeah,
thing.
I know, going into 2026, which is crazy to say, we just want to continue growing and I guess maximizing our efforts and just time management and, really like fine tuning things for efficiency. For our business.
Yeah, we're just climbing up a mountain right now, but we're not trying to take shortcuts, right? It's really easy to take risk, right? Some people risk it for the biscuit and get it.
Yeah.
Most people don't. They don't. They get kicked in the nuts and then they leave the hobby.
It's very easy to have tunnel vision and, again, like how we talked about, like pace yourself, consistency, have patience, like that really is very important. And you can't compare yourself to somebody else.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, I mean, even just for me, if you had told me back in January that I would have almost 1,200 sales on TCG Player, again, compared to your journey and your chapter of the journey, that seems like nothing, but it's huge for me to sit here and just a few hours a day do that. And so, for the viewers of this too, to know that, your success is going to look different and not to get discouraged with all that you guys have accomplished. And I think that that's the other thing that the vibe that you guys give off is like this hobby, let's just say trading cards in general, but Pokemon is so vast and there's so many different ways to engage the hobby. And if you're just a collector and you're watching this, that's amazing. Like if that's where your enjoyment is in the hobby, if you have a 30-cent card and it's your favorite card, that's incredible. And so it's one of those things where I love the culture. I think that collectively many of us are trying to create, and realizing that if I promote you, it doesn't make me any less valuable. And that if you hype me, and the same thing, like when today, if you follow me on Instagram, Brian from PokeNE commented on one of my videos. He didn't have to do that. And it just said, great channel. And I was hyped by it. And so we can really encourage and spur one another on to take next steps. But I'll shut up now. This is interviewing you. But yeah. Did that give you time to think, Dave? Did that give you time to think?
We love to
This is a conversation, brother.
Yeah,
this is a conversation.
Exactly.
Yeah. Just something that I would love for people to kind of like, just if they can take anything away from this, is whatever part of the journey that you're on, whether you're just in it for the TCG, the game itself, enjoy the leveling, however it comes.
Yeah.
You just don't know what will spark you down a road of just fun. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you can open up a pack today and pull one of your biggest hits that you've been chasing, and now you got a different bug. You catch a bug, you start collecting things, maybe enjoy whatever part of it is, but do it responsibly, financially, with a separate, even if you're just a collector, right? This may seem very like overkill, but even if you're collecting, I think you can go down a very deep rabbit hole in this hobby, right? I think we've seen all the videos and memes about, it's like people getting divorced over this, people are losing, families, and just
the debt you can go into trying to pull that next lottery ticket.
Yeah. And instead of looking at it like a instant gratification type hobby, just enjoy it for whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's the selling aspect, which is an amazing journey. Even if you're a collector, I highly encourage anyone just to list the stuff you don't want on eBay.
Or duplicates. Yeah, duplicates, whatever. Yeah,
because if you sell those, now you're slowly understanding what it takes to sell, right? Oh, what do you mean? I got to print out a label? Like, you know what I mean? Like from there, like I would just say do it. Like Shia LaBeouf, just do it. I'm telling everyone right now that it's really not that intimidating. When it comes down to the taxes and financial stuff, things can get scary. It can be overwhelming.
Yep.
But just take one day at a time. You know what I mean? Level up.
1 foot in front of the other.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
1 foot in front of the other until you reach whatever destination that you're trying to get. Because my destination is different than yours, Alan.
Yep.
And yours is different than almost everyone watching this has a different objective.
Absolutely.
But we're all in this together. You know what I mean? And as long as we do it responsibly, I think whether you're a collector or investor, just start selling the stuff that you don't want is a great way to start. Yeah. So that's the advice that I would give anybody out there. That's kind of what started it for us. Yeah. And here we are 5 years later. We are our own bosses. Yes. We don't report to anybody. We have made more, and this is not just to but we've made more money this year selling singles, no English booster boxes, having no distribution, just a Japanese supplier that anyone else can have. Yeah. And we've made more money than we could ever imagine than we've made in all our years, right? And I think that's very special when you do something you love and you do it with somebody you love. So I love you, and this hobby is freaking amazing. So
what a way to end.
That's what life is about.
Yes. Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much. And I think that's a great note to end on, is that no matter what your goal is, if you're watching this video, maybe for you it's brick and mortar, and maybe for you it's selling on eBay, so that when you wake up every morning, you just, I don't know what it is, but Pokemon buyers buy things in the middle of the night, even at TCG Player. But we can celebrate each other's victories. We can celebrate these moments. And I can't wait till I'm down in your neck of the woods again, or maybe you're up here in the Twin Cities. We can get together in person and celebrate what all has been done in our businesses. But if you're watching this, I hope that this has been informative. It's helped pique your curiosity, and then it's helped you be just a little bit more courageous to take a next step. It's given me a lot of ideas for some future content about separating finances and taxes and all those kinds of things, because those are other things that go into the conversation. But those are things that shouldn't scare you. They shouldn't scare you. They're just things to, yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Before I forget, okay, because I have an attention span of a squirrel sometimes.
Do it.
If you are getting into this, track your mileage too. Have a mileage
I've
tracker.
got an app on my phone, bro.
Yes, all
Yeah.
of that goes into play. Yes.
Because at the end of the day, no one tells you got to pay 15% on self-employment tax.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? So
Yes.
when you are tracking your expenses is super like important, and I just want people to know that. So you could track your expenses for
Be
mileage.
smart about your expenses.
And it's your drive to and from. It's not just your drive. So like if you're going to the post office, if you're going to pick up inventory at a Target parking lot, if you're going to Walmart to buy more labels for your top loaders, whatever, like all of those things count. And then like this microphone, again, if you've ever watched the show Schitt's Creek, not technically a cuss word, but he talks about, it's a write-off, it's a write-off, it's a write-off. It's a write-off, but you still have to pay for it, and it goes against your profit. And so my goal this year, this may be a weird goal, is that I'll get to pay taxes. like trying to reposition it, like so people are just trying to avoid taxes. But I hope at some point in the next 2 months that I'll hit a pivot point to where, you know what, I owe the government 15.3% because I was profitable in my business. But when you're first getting started and you're buying things, even like a tape dispenser that helps you dispense tape even quicker, or the thermal label maker, or whatever it is, those are all things. Start an Excel spreadsheet or a Google spreadsheet document and keep track of all of those, because then when you reconcile your budget at the end of the year, that goes against your profit. And the other thing is if you're just getting started, if you use an eBay or a TCG Player, they handle all of the sales tax for you. You don't have to do that. But if you start your own website, you have to then begin to report and track all of the sales tax. And every state has a different threshold of when you have to like file EIN numbers and stuff with them. Whole different video.
Yes.
Not to discourage anybody that's watching this, but there are so many things to consider. And so take those first steps. You can do it well. Leave a comment down below if you have a question about any of those things. I am not a financial or a legal expert on any of it, but I do have a business degree that helps me think through some of that stuff maybe a little differently than most. But guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable with your story. And tell everybody where they can find you if you just want to rattle that off real quick, and then I'll put them down in the description down below.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can find us over at DKTCG Cave over on eBay, whatnot, Instagram, TikTok, and also YouTube.
and are there some underscores in there too on some of that?
Oh, yes. DK_TCG_cave.
And is that uniform across all of those?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Okay, cool. And I'll have all those links down below by the time I post this video. But thanks for being here. If you're a viewer of the channel, thanks for being here. If you're from Dave and Kay's community and you've stumbled across this video, I would love a like, a subscribe, leave a comment down below. Let them know how much you love what they're doing for you as well. And I can't wait to maybe make this a monthly thing where I interview people that are approaching the hobby from a different perspective, and we can all level up together. Thanks for being here, everyone. This is Alan, this is Dave, and this is Kay, and this has been Flip House Finds. We'll see you in the next video.